This is the Independent Dealer Podcast. Education by dealers for dealers. Now, here are your hosts, Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Dealership Consulting. Take number 3. We have Russell Moore down in Hurricane Alley dealing with some issues that's hanging over and also causing his internet to be horrible. So hopefully we make it through this interview with him. But Russell, thank you for joining us. What's going on down there? Fill the listeners in on what you're dealing with.
Well, we're dealing with a hurricane with zero power around here. I think there's in my town of Conroe, we've got probably still 200 and something thousand people out of power. And they claim that we're not going to get that back on till around the 14th. And so my dealership is in that area. My house is in that area, and I can't. I have a whole house generator, so my house has got power, but I don't have it at the lot, and it is horrible.
Yeah, I've been through something like this before. In 2015, October 2015, we had a flood in Columbia. I mean, 20 inches of rain in 20 hours. It was horrific. So many people around us lost. Well, the dam busted for our local water system, so we didn't have any water. Which really creates a problem. We didn't have power. We didn't have water. It took, a week and a half to get power back on, and 2 or 3 days just to get water again. And then it was just a real nightmare. But yeah, I feel you, buddy. That's a tough situation. Jeff, y'all don't have to worry about rain like that up there.
Yeah, I live in God's country, so we don't ever have any kind of natural disaster. No hail, no sleet, no hurricanes, no flooding. It is 112 today. Going to be 114 tomorrow. So everything hates you. It tries to burn you. But other than that, this is a unique situation, right? So what Russell's dealing with, and the reason we wanted to have him on is because we do go through this as dealers, right? I mean, the closest thing I had was COVID times, right? When it was kind of like an all hands on deck crisis situation. What do we do to keep the dealership alive, keep people's paychecks? And in the unique situation, you're a buy here, pay here. What do you do with your portfolio, right? I couldn't even imagine living down in Texas or Florida or Georgia and having a large CPI penetration and just watching the Weather Channel and just being like, oh my goodness, my portfolio is about to get wiped out. My CPI is going to get absolutely devastated. Russell, how has that panned out for you? Do you have any preliminary numbers on your vehicles, your portfolio? Did it take out a lot of cars, or are you okay?
No, I don't think it was a flood event. It was a wind event. So at this point, we're not. Now, don't get me wrong. We had some flooding areas, but we didn't. The most of it was the wind, and that's what it took out a lot of trees and a lot of that kind of thing. So as far as the CPI and the portfolio, as far as that's concerned, I'm not too worried about that. If I lose 4 or 5, that's fine. I think the biggest takeaway is trying to figure out how to contact these, these customers. That's where I struggled the most with. And, I've been talking with my wife about it and trying to, figure out what I need to do. And I think that's what started this conversation with me being on here this morning, was me reaching out to you guys as my group members, trying to get some ideas of what you guys would say. And so that's what I've been trying to figure out.
Yeah, and Jeff, you brought up COVID. This kind of can be a lot like COVID, that each individual person's situation during this time is different. Every one of our customers' situation is different. And, some people are going to be working for Home Depot and for Lowe's Home Improvement, and they are going to get triple time, right? Yeah. They're going to be working all the time.
Emergency response, healthcare, city workers, they're going to get overtime and a half.
That's right. And they're going to keep getting that money coming in. But then you have the customers that work for McDonald's, which may be shut down for 3 or 4 days because they don't have power, or for a daycare that's shut down for 3 or 4 days because they don't have power. Then all of a sudden you have a situation where someone actually cannot make their car payment. And what do you do? I mean, I know what you do, but that's the real question. How do you do it?
So here's what I'm doing right now. So I learned something during COVID, and what the main thing I learned was you got to watch what you say to people in a mass text. I learned the hard way. I sent out a text which I was telling the truth, but I wasn't telling it in an empathetic way, right? I didn't word it right. And I got blown up on social media over that. They were screenshotting my messages and
Ooh.
sending that stuff out. And so I learned from that. And so this morning, whenever I sent that message to you guys, I've had a couple of group members reach out, and one of them, Jamie, sent me a beautifully written email that she used during COVID. And my staff is working on that right now. I'm putting my name in it, and we're going to send that out. And it's very, very well written. And then one of our other group members, Jeff Williams, he reached out and he said, "Look," he goes, "we've been through this." He goes, "I lost a complete store for 2 months." He said,
Yep.
"We didn't have power for 2 months." So he goes, "I got the playbook on this deal." So whenever listening to his trials and tribulations, I mean, he said, "Look, you've got to still be firm with your customers. You still have to talk to them. They still have to make the payments, or your portfolio is going to blow up." Um, I think the key takeaway that I got from him to help other dealers that are going through this, and this is the best advice, Jeff, I took away from him was give your customers something before you start asking for something. He said, "We went and bought a pallet of water." And he said, "Just have it sitting there." He goes, "Not that many people are going to take you up on it, but you got it there. Give them something before you ask for something." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant."
That's a great way to do it. In fact,
Yep.
when we had that issue in 2015, we had a big F350 long bed truck. I said, "Dad, get in this thing and drive up 77, and you just go until you get somewhere that has gallons of water, and you buy every single one of them." And we filled up the back of that F350. We parked it on our lot when nobody else was open. We didn't have power, and we posted on social media, customer, not customer, to limit 2 per person, come get it. And I tell you, the amount of goodwill that brought, and what it cost us, a couple $1,000, who cares, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of goodwill that did in the community was huge. So you can turn a bad situation, as Jeff's talking about, Jeff Williams, a bad situation into a really good PR situation. And not that we're trying to benefit ourselves in this, we're trying to actually help people. And that's, you got to give a little bit to get it in return.
And something else too. I mean, this morning, today was the first day that I went up there and we opened up. So, I mean, I hadn't been open 30 minutes, and a lady came in and was frustrated. And so her auto pay had run, and she's wanting her money back. Okay, well, I get it. I truly do. But I can't, at this point, I didn't have power to anything to even verify that we even took the money. I couldn't even, I wasn't even ready to open up to get that information for her.
Yeah.
So, another thing that I will tell people is you've got to have some power, to be able to, I get it. It's just hard.
Yeah, what you're saying, Russell, is just like, we talked about in a previous episode about having this contingency plan in case you lose your database, right? If you have a cybersecurity breach that shuts you down, what is your contingency? What is your backup? And like you mentioned, you have a whole house generator at your house. As dealers, do we need to be looking at, like, why do we not have large generators at our dealerships that will either run the whole thing and or at least run a stack of computers and a little portable AC unit to be able to get on?
I will have in a month. I'll get one now.
So, I mean, that's very interesting, Jeff. The building we are in now, we bought from a new car store, and it was their data hub. Before everything was cloud-based, everybody had these big dealerships had essentially a building, which is our current building, that housed computer servers and phone systems. And they had a generator out back of that building that ran on natural gas, and they never lost power to their phone systems or their internet because they had it there. And so they always had contact. And it's a really good idea to do. And we're talking, to run most dealerships, $5,000 to $10,000 probably to install one. And I think it's probably, if you're in a place that has a lot of natural disasters, and I would consider, Houston, Texas, the Panhandle of Florida, all of Florida, to be one of those areas, Louisiana, parts of California, is something you should probably really look into, because these things happen. And I've been without power for a week before, and it's no fun. Yeah. Luckily, we have vendors like Blytzpay that we can actually take payments if we need to. We can log into their system from our home if we have internet, to take those payments, to communicate with our customers. But you've got to have, as we talked about in the last episode, contingency plans on how to deal with these things, because some people do want to pay you, Russell. And then some people are going to get mad that you ran their auto pay when you had nothing to do
during
with
a crisis.
Yeah.
What is your policy, Russell? What are you doing? Are you putting that into writing, or are you doing this on a case-by-case basis? If someone comes in and gets mad, no questions asked, I'll refund your money. I'm not going to push you for your payment for a couple of weeks. Are you giving deferrals out freely? What have you made a decision on those?
So the decision I made this morning was, after talking with her, once I get the system back up and I can confirm that I did get the money or whatever, I am going to probably help her in some sort of manner. I don't know what that is yet, but I am going to help her. I will call her. I took her name down. So yes, I'm putting a policy together that we're going to do deferrals. We're going to do all of that I think, we talked about, I think most of the people are, this pay cycle is not the one that's going to be the screwed up one. It's the next one. So once all of that starts trickling through, I'm probably making more out of it than it really is, but I still got to be empathetic with the customers. I still got to be sympathetic. I do not want to be the mean ogre that just is calling, beating them up, give me the keys or get down the road. Because I'm going to get a lot of keys if I do that.
Do you mind sharing with the audience why this customer felt like they needed that money back?
To feed their kids. She specifically told me, I don't have any money, and this is going to make me upside down where I can't feed my kids. So at that time, I didn't have any money in my pocket at that time, but my credit cards, or I would have reached in and gave her some money at that point, not even knowing. So what I'm going to do when I get back, I grabbed some when I was here. When I go back, I'm going to call her and just tell her, come up, I got $100 for you. Whether you are a good customer, paying customer, that I don't even know that yet, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Whether she is a customer or not, who knows?
That's right. It really doesn't matter. That's right.
Exactly. She's fixing to get $100 either way. So.
What's funny, Russell, is you say that, but you're right. That's a little alarming that within a couple of hours, she's nervous about that, right? And some of our customers are, I mean, I guess they're running hour to hour. I don't know. Maybe they're on the daily pay plan at McDonald's or something. And so their checks are coming in. And so when that thing happens, they get so short automatically. But I remember during COVID, I had a set of criteria that I set up with my collector that said, we've got to have a proof of hardship. They have to send us something, right? That says, hey, I work here, my hours got cut back, I got furloughed, I got sick, I have a doctor's note. Because once the word gets out that you're going to give deferrals, everybody will ask regardless, right? So I had a criteria that a couple little hoops that had to be jumped through, but then I was very willing to give those out. Do you guys see, in Russell's situation, would there be any harm with him just freely giving deferrals to people that could prove hardship?
I don't think there's a problem at all. And you could even do, I mean, Russell, your weekly payments, right?
Bi-weekly and weekly, mostly.
Bi-weekly, okay, or weekly. You could, I mean, honestly, you could defer everybody's payment for 2 weeks. You could.
Yeah.
And never miss a beat. And sometimes you have to look at situations like that, because you may give deferrals if someone calls and asks, just do it, right? So you have to take that in consideration. One thing you can't do, and people out there that are buy here, pay here stores, I hope you know this law. But as soon as the federal government decides to declare something a national disaster, and you're in that area, you can't repossess the car anyway. It doesn't matter. So you've got to make sure that you understand those laws, because as soon as it's declared natural disaster, you can't touch anybody until after it's undeclared a national disaster. So be very mindful of situations like that. So you can't repo, you can't collect. What do you do? Sometimes you just have to give deferrals.
Yeah. And it's the communication thing, right? If they're communicating, that's the number one thing.
And that's the thing about with our customers, though, Jeff. You're looking at our customers are probably the most resilient people in the world. Yeah. They can do the most with the less amount out of anybody. The fact that $273 payment that she made is affecting her that much. But I guarantee you, with my 100 that I'm going to give her later on today, she can stretch that into a week and a half. And she will make it work. She'll make it go around and pay, what she needs to pay. And that's what we got to try to remember is we got to help them. They're the ones helping us make the money. So we got to take care of them. Yeah. And the deferrals and all of that stuff, that's not a big deal.
Let me shift gears real quick, guys. So we talked about the portfolio for those buy here, pay here dealers. Now, what if you're a retail dealer and you're in this situation? So Russell, what are you doing for your actual dealership to get it and your employees back on their feet? Are you kind of in a sit and wait and I'm not trying to sell cars today or tomorrow? Or are you in a, hey man, all hands on deck, let's get a generator running, let's get some hot spots set up, because we can still deliver cars to people who might need another car, who got wiped out, or maybe they were just going to buy one anyways and they don't care and this is over. Like,
I don't care about selling a car for the next few days. That's the least of my concerns right now, because I don't think that's on everybody's mind anyway. So my concern right now is what you just said: getting the generator up, getting some stuff done where I can communicate with my customers. I will say that my employees, none of them have power. Not a one of them has power at their house. So, trying to get, they're living what all of my customers are living right now as well. So you got to make sure, and that's what I want to make sure next time this happens, that I do have a generator. So I have AC for my people to come up, and I don't care if they just come up and hang out. Yeah. Just trying to give them a cool space to come up, because there ain't no space here in town.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. That's my thoughts on that.
Buy a box truck full of ice, sounds like.
One thing though, Jeff, you're talking about retail customers, retail dealers. A lot of times these events cause the next month to be good, because cars get totaled from whatever, floods, wind, whatever, but the cars get wrecked, and so people have to buy new cars. So it's one of those things you sit, and hopefully you've managed your business well enough that you're okay for 2 or 3 weeks without anybody making payments, right? Or without selling a car, that you can wait to sell the cars, because this will create demand at some point in the near future.
But Russell, what about your employees that are now going for a week or two without any pay? I don't know if you have mechanics, reporters, or all salesmen, or what it is, but have you thought that through yet, or any advice for dealers as far as like, are you going to pay them anyways? Or is it like, hey, everyone gets a free vacation?
Absolutely. They don't even know it yet. Today's payroll, they don't even know it. Whenever I pay them today, they're going to get their full paychecks, whether they were there or not. That's just crazy not to. It's not going to be, you want to keep your employees happy, right? If you're that tight on money, then look, you got other issues besides that. You probably already lost most of your employees at that point, I feel like. But if you can't, I get it. I know, and it's tight. Still, money is tight, but at the same time, it's tight for them. Just imagine from their side, the customers, the employees, they're not making what you and I are. And I don't mean that in any other way than what it is. I mean, it's just they're going to get their money. I'm paying them. So
yeah,
I think everybody should.
That's a non-starter for sure.
What I feel for is if you are a retail dealer, large or small, and you have been going through a period of tighter, your belt loops have been real tight lately, right? Interest rates, kind of the dog days of summer, sales slowing. Now you're sitting on 2 weeks of inventory that's doing nothing for you. So I guarantee, I don't know if your flooring line is going to give you a break or not on those payments, interest, and curtailments, but then also paying salesmen and all your staff through this. Those are the guys I feel bad for, because I know that even some retail dealers can be paycheck to paycheck, right? I mean, you're shoestringing it and you're just trying to get through some tough times. This is not fun for those guys at all.
It hadn't been fun for me the last year with the interest rates being what they are, but you know what? We've made it through, to this point, and hopefully I'm knocking on wood that we continue on. So, I hate that we've lost a lot of dealers to the interest rate crunch, and the local dealers around here going through a crisis like this. This may be the final straw for some of them.
Yeah.
I hope it's not, but it very well could be. I don't know. I hope not.
That's a sad situation, and it's going to get worse as we continue down this road of higher interest rates for the next at least 2 to 3 months. But and I'm not sure a 25% interest rate cut is going to help that situation either. But that's the reason it's so important for everybody listening to run your business the best way possible, to be tight with your resources, to prepare for events like this that do happen. And, Jeff, Russell, and I are in the same 20 group. So we have a lot of good board members of our business that help us make sure that we do that. We have a group me thread that we're real interactive in, that we all help each other out. And I'm so appreciate y'all for coming up with those ideas and helping us through, because if we didn't have each other to lean on, this would be a tough situation for anybody to fall into. And some dealers just don't have that.
Yep. 100%. And again, we're learning every time. We had guys, we had another discussion about, what happens if we're the CDK guys and we go down like that? What happens if that worst case disaster box, do we have one? Are we set up? Are we ready for it?
Yeah.
This is it for me.
What if you were one of those?
This is my CDK.
What if you were one of those new car stores that just got off of a CDK cyber shutdown for the last 2 weeks, and then you got this punched in your face 2 days later?
Absolutely.
Man. Russell, well, hey, thank you for joining us. This has been great, hopefully educational for all the dealers. And I really hope you guys get that situation figured out before January when our 20 group goes down there, your neck of the woods. So
the taco truck is open. I went by there yesterday, so we're still good, baby.
That was the only thing I was worried about.
Restaurants is the taco truck. It's got a generator strapped to the back of it. It's always open.
Absolutely.
So smart.
So great.
All right. Thanks, Russell. Best of luck.
Thank you for listening. Please leave us a review. We'll catch you in the next episode.